Hello, comrades. This is Heavy Weapons Guy. And if you are listening to Ronald and Sam from the VŌC Podcast team, sure as hell you are no baby. Listen to Heavy. We just want to make sure you're listening to the right people. Ronald and Sam from the VŌC Podcast team are the best ones to listen to. And if you don't, bloody hell, you're all dead!
Welcome, Gary. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Ronald. I'm a sound engineer and voice actor. It's a big pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you, Ronald.
Yep, and this is the VŌC Podcast. This will be either our first or second interview here on the podcast. So we can start diving right into the questions. Ronald, if you want to ask the first question here.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna go ahead. So, Gary, when was the time that you found out? I mean, when you found the interest in voice acting, if I can ask.
Well, it's very interesting because I started out my career, believe it or not, as a mime, and so I was a mime from the age of 13. I was performing, and when I went out to Los Angeles in my late 20s, I had been a mime already for like 13 years. So I started to get work in LA as a mime, but by that time I was kind of bored with mime, and so I wanted to sort of expand and do acting. So I started enrolling in acting classes, but I was also partners with a comedy partner whose name was Caleb Chung, and we were a comedy mime duo. And my specialty was, he was a much better mime than I was. So he would do robot and all sorts of things, and I started doing vocal sound effects for him on the microphone. So, you know, and I also did his voice. So he would just, you can look it up on YouTube. There's some videos of Schwartz and Chung, it's called. And interestingly, Caleb was a sort of a mechanical genius, and he went on to become a world famous toy inventor, and he invented the Furby. So, yeah, the Furby.
Oh, like the little doll thing, the little animal.
Little doll thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That learns like a 3D Tamagotchi. So anyway, so we convinced each other that you know, adding sound to our mime was the best thing to do. So I was doing a lot of vocal sound effects. At the same time, I was studying improvisation and acting, and I basically made a voice tape and started getting voiceover commercials and stuff like that. This is way back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, long before MP3s, we used audio tape.
Audio tape.
That is really
interesting.
interesting.
Audio tape demos.
I always had fun, you know, playing around with making noises and sounds, and I also had kind of an affinity for dialects and accents and imitating people. And so I just it just sort of was a natural progression from there.
So your first project was being a mime. So was that like your so that kind of segued into your acting career?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So and because I was a mime, I did a lot of work inside prosthetic makeups, because pantomime lent itself to being, you know, things other than people. I remember Caleb one time got a job as a cube of salt. I got a job in a commercial being a giant hot dog that attacked a woman for like a weight gain commercial, you know, like a weight loss commercial. It was me and a slice of pizza and a cookie mugged a woman in an alley.
So what was the first book you have ever written, actually. It's very interesting to ask, I think.
Yeah, actually, I'd been writing a lot of blogs based on my work with my improv teacher, Viola Spolin, for many, many years. And, I had tried my hand at writing teleplays and screenplays and things like that. Everybody does in Hollywood when you're there. You're writing screenplays that never get produced. So, but ever since I was a little kid, I had an idea for a book based on my favorite childhood book called The Phantom Toll Booth. And it's basically, I've always told the story that, of the, this book that I eventually would write. Anyway, I got challenged one day by a corporate guy who said, look, you can't get past 20 pages. I'm going to challenge you to write a page a day for 30 days and see if you can break your record. And so I said, you're on. And I ended up writing about 360 pages. And I had a book. Of course, it was terrible, bad writing. But then I took about 2 years to really study writing as an art form, and got the book down to a couple hundred pages, and ended up getting a publisher and getting it published. And I'm very proud of it. So I've written some other things, but they haven't yet been published.
Now, that is really interesting, and it's awesome to hear such a back info. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
I'm really proud of the book. It won some literary awards, and it's a really wonderfully funny childhood adventure in a fantasy land filled with a lot of puns. But it's mostly an adventure story like James and the Giant Peach or The Wizard of Oz, something like that.
And the book is called?
The book is called The King of Average. About a little boy who has low self-esteem and doesn't believe he's very good at anything, but he realizes he has the ability to be average at just about anything he tries. So he decides one day to become the most average person who ever lived. And that sends him into a fantasy world where the king of average, which is an actual place, has disappeared. Norman the Unexceptional has disappeared, and they're looking for a new king, and he seems like a likely candidate. And he's met by a talking goat named Mayor Culpa, who is a scapegoat, because of course that's a pun. Mea culpa means my fault. And so it's filled with a lot of puns, which is like my favorite book, The Phantom Toll Booth, which is a similar kind of story.
Really cool. That's awesome. Do you so you have other book that you've not yet published?
Yeah, I have a
manuscript.
Right now, I have a manuscript about my time in Los Angeles as a limousine driver, called The Benji Loper Caper, where this 14-year-old kid rented my limousine. That's the true part of the story. But our two limousines get mixed up, and he gets involved in a international jewel theft with his dates and his best friend, and so it's like a romp through Hollywood in the 1980s.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear about your writing career. Apart from your acting career, because I think actors who write books, they have very interesting books just from their talent in acting. So it's really interesting to hear that side of your career.
The first thing that my writing mentor told me was, she said, boy, well, you really have a flair for dialogue, and that's because it's really easy just to hear each character speak, and as they're speaking in my head, they sort of direct the story, which is very much like improvisation. You let them talk and find out what the story is at the end of your writing.
That's really
not
cool.
a good way to do it, by the way. Yeah.
Well, it's a way to do it.
Very time consuming. Better to have an outline, but anyway, that was my process.
Very well.
How
about
writing a story is trying to, writing a story, calling it improv. That's correct. That's what it essentially is.
You want to write it to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, going into some of your voice work, some of your voice projects, I'm definitely going to look into the King of Average book. I love to read that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate a review on Amazon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put that on my Amazon list so I can read on my Kindle here. But
I also did the audio book, by the way. I did the audio book if you want to hear my voice acting.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I love to hear the audiobook as well. But going into I was just going to ask about if you were ever willing to do voice work for community projects, such as either modding projects such as Team Fortress 2, or maybe some of your other work. Have you ever considered being a part of those projects from the community?
Well, here's the thing, and because I get asked this a lot about doing voice work. I'm a union actor. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. And unfortunately in America, for many decades now, there's been a very strong anti-union movement. So being a union member, rule one in the union is you don't do non-union work. And unfortunately, a lot of these projects that I get asked to do are just sort of one-off projects. I'll volunteer to do something if it's for a good cause, which is more charitable, but I don't want to get involved in a project that doesn't want to pay fair wages and So it's limited a lot of the work that I do, even here in Seattle, which is strongly a non-union town. LA, it was a different story. LA was, the union took care of its actors, and so that's the issue with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's a good point. Talking about the union, because a lot of actors, that's some of the reason why, they can't get on like some of the community projects that, the community's making, such as like, not personal, but like community, more community projects. That's part of the reason why they can't get on that. So thank you for bringing that up about the.
I would do it, if it was for a charity or a food bank or something that was a good cause. I certainly don't mind doing intros for podcasts and things like that. But to do a non-union video game or to voice a project that can't takes advantage of actors who want to work. And believe me, actors want to work, which is why non-unionism is unfortunately popular.
Fair enough.
Right.
Okay, so Gary, do you play any video games?
I don't. I can't even get the heavy to pick up a gun. I mean, I have a 14-year-old nephew, a friend of my best friend, a son of my best friend, and he's a wizard, and I watch what he's doing on the keyboard, and it's beyond me. It's beyond me.
Well,
I used to do games in the 80s and 90s, but those were more text-based, not like what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, some more of the DOS type of software.
DOS-based games, games that were like, more puzzle games. One of the very first video games I ever did was a thing called the Jungle Book, which was a combination live action stock footage of Disney's The Jungle Book. And it's, on the IBM computer in the days when you would like insert a floppy disk, But yeah, no, I'm not a gamer.
Well, people
It's really interesting because I did not know for the longest time after having done Team Fortress that the game was so popular. And it was about 4 years after I had done the game that when people overheard me do, a Russian accent, and they said, "Oh my God, you sound like Heavy," and I go, "I am Heavy," and kids would all go like, "Yeah," and I started to realize that the game was popular. And I've been around the world, and I remember being at an improv festival in Australia, and I'm trying to build my reputation as an improv teacher all around the world. And a young gal, about 24 years old, she said, I admire your work as an improv teacher. I said, "Oh yeah." And so for some reason I did the voice of Demoman, and then she goes, "Oh my God, are you Demoman?" I said, "Yes, and I'm also Heavy." And she hugs me, and she puts her head on my chest, and she goes, "Oh my God, I've spent 900 hours with you."
Jeez.
Yeah, it's very popular. It must have been. I can't even imagine the experience you must have had, discovering how popular Team Fortress was.
Well, the first thing that opened my eyes was Valve had asked me to do an autograph signing at a DOTA 2 competition here in Seattle. And when I went down there, I couldn't believe, first of all, how international it was. And secondly, how amazing, all of the cosplay and all of the fandom there. It was the first time I ever in my life, experienced like, this is what a rock star must like live with every day. This was amazing. And it was really fun. And, to watch that DOTA competition was also awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They invite a lot of voice actors like from various like Valve games to come and be there, which is really cool. I'd like to go to one myself. Hopefully I'll see you there next time.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think John Patrick Lowry from who's on TF2 and a lot of other games. I think he MCs those events.
Yeah. He does. Yeah, I saw some of his work in that. It was very impressive.
Yeah. John's a super talented guy, as is his wife Ellen. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. Ellen's great. Yeah, we plan to interview John pretty soon, but we could probably get into more of the Team Fortress 2 center questions since we're on the topic here. Sure. First question here is, you're not really exactly well known as compared to Heavy and Demo in Team Fortress, but how hard, or was it hard to get into the role of Monoculus? Like what would in the Monoculus like Halloween monster? You remember the Monoculus, right?
No, Monoculus. Refresh me.
It was the pumpkin-headed guy with the axe, and it was just mostly laughs. He did mostly like maniacal laughs. It was like for a Halloween centered themed kind of update for the game.
Oh, really? Okay. They used to bring me in for various updates and things like that. And, they would give me just enough information to let me know what I was doing, but I was not tracking the life of the game. Just happy to have the job. I was a pumpkin-headed character.
Yes, you were.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. Okay, do you actually remember the last time you went into the studio to record for Valve for Team Fortress 2?
For Team Fortress 2? No, well, that was a while back. It might have had something to do with hats. Something about everybody put on different hats, or it was a while ago for TF2, I think. I've done some recording over at Valve for something called Artifacts on that's a DOTA related game. But it's been several years, I think, since I've been in on a TF2 expansion module. So I really don't remember what's the last one that they released that I appeared in.
It's hard to track. It's hard to track.
I believe you might have been involved in something called the Jungle Inferno, but I think I know the one you're talking about. It was probably about 5 years ago. It was called the Gunmetal Update, and it involved a bunch of hats. And it was like a big short, like minute short that came with it.
Yeah, I think users were like starting to like do their own animation and stuff like that. They let users start animating the characters. I remember I got a call one day from a fan who asked if I would record Bohemian Rhapsody as the Heavy, and he animated the Heavy singing Bohemian Rhapsody. Quite funny. Mama, just killed a man.
Yeah.
Jesus, so funny. Okay. So who exactly is your most favorite role from Team Fortress 2?
Oh, the Heavy was a lot of fun. The Heavy, both Heavy and Demo are great fun to do because, you know, after you do the lines and you lay down all of the different tracks, you know, you do an ABC version of every line, and a lot of times they'd let me wing some stuff, and what a lot of times the fun I get when I'm working in a studio is to see if I can crack up the guys behind the glass. So you know, and sometimes that makes it into the game, or I hope so. It's sort of a, you know, it's sort of my MO to leave them saying, you know, oh, he was really fun to work with. Hopefully they'll hire me again.
I'm sure.
I think they will. I think
Of
whatever
course
comes
they will.
next, if there's any other IP, you'll definitely to come back. So besides John Patrick Lowry and Ellen McLean, have you met any other voice actors from TF2?
Oh yeah.
Other than Demoman as well.
The late Rick
Have
May.
you voiced yourself?
Rick May, unfortunately, was one of the first people to succumb to COVID here in Seattle.
Right.
And he was on the game. Nathan, younger kid, he did the
Scout. He did the
yeah,
Scout.
he was Scout. Right. Yeah. Nice guy, a lot of fun. Who else have I bumped into? I think that's about it. Oh no, of course, Pyro, Dennis Bateman. I've worked with Dennis. I've even directed Dennis in theater pieces at my theater. I have a small little theater here in the town of North Bend, just outside of Seattle. And I ran a theater for about 17 years here. And I remember, you know, I directed Dennis in a wonderful actor, Dennis also. He'd be a good, interesting interview too.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we did a piece, an original piece called Geppetto's Funeral. And it takes place basically, you know, after Pinocchio comes home and works with Geppetto and abandons the circus. Geppetto eventually dies and leaves a middle-aged, sort of embittered Pinocchio, the wood shop. and he's visited by the Blue Fairy, and it's a really interesting concept to see, what happened to Pinocchio 40 years later. He's a middle-aged man now.
Yeah. That's a great synopsis for a story.
Yeah, he's no longer this. I want to be a real boy. Now I'm a real middle-aged man. Saddled with taking care of an aging parent.
Yeah.
What did you do to me, Blue Fairy?
I want to check that out now. I'm gonna put that on my list.
Same. So Gary, what exactly was your inspiration for the drunk Scotsman's personality?
For
Demoman.
For Demoman. Oh, well, the minute you start doing a Scottish accent, it just sort of unlocks things. And the cool thing is I think the way he was written also, Valve had a lot to do with it. The fact that he was a one-eyed black Scottish bomber,
Right.
The Scottish accent actually took me a little while to get, when I was first doing accents, this was back 40 some odd 50 years ago, I could not get a Scottish accent. It always slipped into Irish or something, I could not find that cadence for a while until I was on the film Quest for Fire in 1980. And I took a vacation to Scotland, and hanging around enough Scottish, I finally got it, and was able to hear the sounds and do all of that kind of thing. And it's the thicker there's some Scottish accents are so thick it doesn't even sound like English. So I just started, playing around with it, and even before, I think there's a Scottish accent on my demo tape, and it just says it's at the very end, and it just says, "All right, rewind."
Nice.
I mean, think about how somewhat unintelligible, the Scottish accent is, plus drinking.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember the sequence where they would let me spew out all sorts of foul-mouthed stuff, and they would bleep it.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's really cool to understand how you got the accent, the Scottish accent, going to Scotland, because a lot of actors, including John Patrick Lowry, Ellen told us that he traveled to the southeast, to get that perfect Southern accent.
Yeah. Oh, he's a really great dialectician. He can do South African, which is an accent that escapes me. He's really good at that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's also musical, which I think helps, because accents and dialects go for a rhythm and a cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Half of an accent is that.
Mm-hmm. Takes a lot of work to get that perfect dialect.
Yeah, and I just sort of have an ear for imitation, so a lot of what I do is imitate what I hear versus study it phonetically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So another question here, do you ever remember any outtakes, or any essentially any outtakes or an old version of Meet the Heavy?
Any outtakes? Not of Meet the Heavy, because that was sort of like the opening thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember after getting the job, they would show me. They basically showed me the footage. But doing the Heavy, they had a video camera on my face because they wanted to match the cheeks and mouth movements, even though it wasn't my face. So I just kind of played that one very straight. I didn't really start cutting up until I knew I had the job.
Mm-hmm. Did they show you the footage of the actual video?
Yeah.
And then you matched with it? Right.
No. I recorded and then they showed me it later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
they matched your speech.
Yeah, but they did show me some of the action and what the thing was going to look like and what flavor of, volume and, mayhem I had to like speak over.
Do you remember the Meet the Sandwich video where you were, I'm not sure if you remember, but it was just just one camera angle of a sandwich in a refrigerator, like a top view, like sandwich view.
Yeah.
And there was like a big fight to get the sandwich, and you were like, in the background breaking spines and making people bleed. You remember that?
To me, that was just a bunch of lines. I had no idea what sandwich meant.
It sounded gruesome. It sounded very gruesome. The amount of all that mayhem in the background. It was quite
well, it's fun, when they give you the direction and say, you're crushing everybody and smashing everybody, and it gives you superhuman recuperating powers and everything.
Yeah.
I have to fit. I'm in the studio, but I'm at the end of a session. Sometimes I'm really in a sweat because you have to be physical about it. I think that's my mime training. In other words, I'm breaking bones and crushing heads and in front of the microphone. It's got to look funny to watch me work.
Yeah, the sound design and in your acting, like all together, all the crushing sounds and everything. It was, I think it was quite honestly one of the most gruesome things I've ever heard in me. I'm not kidding. And it was just from that one video of just a silly video of a sandwich, it was quite impressive.
Well, that's a lot of that is due to the Valve guys.
I am just pawn in their game.
That's true. You did it very well.
Yeah. So what is your favorite Demoman line?
Oh, they're going to have to glue you back together in hell.
That's everyone's favorite line.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
I think one of my favorites is it's for a taunt where like the Demoman is drinking and falling over stuff, and he's just like God just starts stuttering in his drinking. It's not even a line, but it's just funny. It's just really screams.
Being they said you're really drunk and you're muttering to yourself. I had so much fun doing that.
Yeah, but that's a classic line, the glue you back together in hell.
Oh yeah, I love that line.
Yeah. Is there any other favorites, like a second favorite or another one that you like?
Tall you fine dandies with your heads full of eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. So, of course, the difference between Heavy and Demoman's voice is the accent, and of course, Demoman's slurring in his speech from drinking. But is there any other difference that you go for between the two voices other than just the dialect?
Oh well, Demoman is way up here in the in the upper area. He's all up here, and in the nose, in the nasal cavity.
And Demoman is down in the bottom of my throat. So when I do Demoman, my whole neck changes. I'm using another part of my body.
Where Demoman is up here, you can even see it in my face.
Yes, definitely. We can see it.
We can see your face physically changing as you get into
down here. Down here.
What up here?
Yeah. And the Scots, they do really seem to be up here. Like the face you made for the Scots. That's what they actually kind of look like.
I know.
Yeah. They very uptight.
Yeah, that's why they have to drink so much scrumpy.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep an even keel.
Yeah. Yes.
That's exactly what it is. It might
Otherwise, I'd be wired.
Yeah. It might be a nationality thing, like like different ranges of voices from different nationalities make their face kind of more different as they
Oh
grow.
yeah. British, they pulled back and reserved, and
Mhm,
unless you're doing like Cockney and all of that stuff, and that's more in the front of the face.
mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm not sure if you remember anything from a recording for Left 4 Dead, but what direction did Valve give you while recording for the airport runaway radio guy?
Oh yeah, I just kind of did the quintessential, country boy pilot, from like South Texas, kind of that, just kind of doing like a generic Southern guy, just like that kind of. The hard one on Left 4 Dead was the tank. That ripped my throat.
You did the tank. That's
Yeah.
right.
I haven't even noticed that. Jeez.
Oh no, that's it. I mean, from the tank in the background there, it makes sense, and from your history of tearing your throat up to do all these roles, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That was in the days before we had set in some protocols for damaging your throat during a session, And I remember at the end of that Left 4 Dead session, I said, "Thanks, everybody. Really had a great time. That was a lot of fun. Let's do it again."
Okay.
So how long did it take you to recover from
Oh,
recording?
that took me about a week until I got all of the haze back out of my voice. I really scraped up my voice.
Did you drink Earl Grey tea?
I drank a lot of hot water, lemon,
Yeah.
and honey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when have you recorded for the
That's
tank?
what a lot of drill instructors use.
What?
When was the first time you recorded for the tank?
I think I did the tank at the end of my. No. They brought me in for a couple of sessions for the tank. I think I had done I was cast as the runway guy. As the helicopter pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then those lines didn't take very long to do. And then so they said, okay, now we have this zombie who literally can tear up the street and throw cars at you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, even like tear cement out of the ground and start throwing them at you too. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when people find out that I'm the tank, they go, "Oh my God, I know when I see you come, the game is going to start over."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's chaotic. It's chaotic.
It's over chaotic. Yes. And that was in 2007, early 2007, or was it even before 2007?
Probably a little before, because like, for example, on Star Wars Old Republic, I was recording lines for them for maybe a year or two before the game even came out.
Mm-hmm. There are prototypes of Left 4 Dead by Turtle Rock Studios in the late 2007s, and in the end, Valve took over and they released the game in 2008. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was, I was aware of the game before, but only as a name and that it was a popular video game. But I think Valve brought me on once they got the game, because I was already, I think, doing TF2.
Yeah, that was probably around the same time that both of those developments.
Yeah, they were
happening.
developed. Yeah, I think Left 4 Dead was ahead of it, but I knew that Left 4 Dead was one of their big games at the time.
Yeah. Did you have to record?
I had no idea TF2 was going to be the blockbuster it was.
Yeah. It's even. I mean, going back to Team Fortress 2 for a second, it's so popular that, like, even across like the YouTube, community, like it's like some of the videos are even like in some ways as popular as the game. Like some of the the videos that the community would make, would be as popular as the game.
Oh yeah, I saw some amazing. There's a lot of talent out there. It's quite amazing. What's interesting is I've been for the last about 12 years. I've been teaching acting to animators at the University of Washington. These guys are all studying to get into the video game animation business as animators. So, but they have, as an animator, you have to know why emotion, what motivates the motion. And so I give them some basic acting ideas so that their characters can move with purpose and intent. And it's a lot of fun. It's quite an interesting gig.
Yeah, like teaching animators the whole actor's point of view or the actor's mindset, like when you're animating, because that's important. It's essentially acting what they're doing, except they're the one pulling the strings.
And they have to break it down just as they would, a physical motion. They have to break down what generates the idea, what motivates you to lift your hand, why do you want that to pick up that glass? Do you pick it up angry, happy, sad? All of those things have to be animated.
So you have to teach them to act in it in a certain way, like you have to teach them like how to act themselves.
Exactly, or at least So what I do is I put them in their body so that they get the feeling, moment by moment, what's what's processing in their head. And you can't do it intellectually. You have to have an intuitive feeling for it. So we do a lot of improv and acting exercises. And also this is where my mime background comes in very handy, because mime is a way to break down the movement so that they can animate something. So, we do walk cycles, how to walk depressed, how to walk happy, how to walk in love.
Right. Well, I mean, it's interesting it really is interesting to get animators to act, because, for them, they're pulling all the strings.
The best ones do have that ability. And you can see that in, Pixar picks those people. They're brilliant, not just technically, but they understand story and motivation.
Then I think another thing that that helps animators bring a convincing performance in their animations is listening to the voice acting. There's so many factors that go into that, like listening to the voice actors acting and how that personality from the voice actor can translate into the actual movements itself.
Well, the first thing I get my students to do is to watch silent films, because if you can say it with your body, adding the voice is only going to be gravy. If you can get it visually to translate emotionally, then first of all, that is just going to make the voice actor look that much better. You can't just let the voice do it. So it really is. It's a collaboration between.
People still make silent films as well.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the projects we do at UW are all essentially silent films with effects. There's no dialogue. So also, then the movie becomes universal.
Right.
And there's a lot of beautiful animations out there. If you go to an animation festival, there's a lot of animation that's without voiceover.
Yeah. I think they have in Pixar. They have the short films. Those are mostly, from what I recall, they're mostly like silent films. There's not really any talking. It's just
Yeah.
kind of the movement thing.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of no dialogue type of short animations.
And once you have that under your belt and you add good actors, then you get that supercharged, fantastic Pixar movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you still do those? Do you still teach animators, acting? Or have you done that lately?
Yeah, well,
That's cool.
not since COVID hit, but yeah, last year,
Right.
yeah. A lot of times also, they'll use me because of my mime background. I say a lot of times, I'm sort of the Andy Serkis of UW.
Yeah.
They'll have me do the action and video reference me for their projects. So that's
really
a lot
cool.
of fun to do too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that concludes all of our questions here. I think we're good to go. Thank you for joining us for our interview, and thank you for asking our many questions involving one of our favorite games and Valve in general. And definitely gonna check out your book. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you. I would love you to
so much. Go check out your book too. Yeah.
It's on Audible and on Amazon. It's both.
And the oh my goodness, Sam, I think you're cutting out.
Hang on, yeah, that was a cutout. You want to redo that? Hang on, he'll come back.
Yeah.
No?
There, I hear you. Your voice is back. Your picture's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's gone.
I'm back. I am back.
Oh, there you are.
Here you are.
I don't know what's going on with that. My internet's been having some issues lately, but we're gonna sort that out soon. Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna check out your audiobook, King of Average. I'm excited for that.
Thank you.
So am I, yes.
And perhaps we'd like to have you back but whenever, if you ever have the chance to do that. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Gary.
Hey, put us all back together virtually with I'd love to say hi to John and Dennis. We sometimes do radio programs here. John will tell you about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy to
I think
do
it'd
it.
be a great idea. Yeah, I like to have everyone together. I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I agree. We just need to find the right time.
Yeah. Well, now is a good time because everybody's stuck home. Everybody's stuck in their house.
And for the foreseeable future, that might be the case.
Yeah, there you go.
That's probably going to be the case for the foreseeable future. All right. Well, thank you, sir, and stay safe out there. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay, Sam, Ronald, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Same.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Take care, Gary. Hope. Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching the VŌC Podcast. My name is Sam, also known as Entity. In case you're not aware of my work, I voice act Barty Calhoun in the Half-Life 2 modification titled Half-Life 2 Raising the Bar Redux. And I also voice act as Captain Colbert in Thunder's Leaves. I'm also involved in another unannounced project that will hopefully be announced some point in the future soon. I also do music composing for Half-Life 2 Raising the Bar Redux. I also go by the alias of Entity Juichi, and I'm currently working on some projects that I'd like to release when they're done. And yeah, it's a little bit about me. My co-host Ronald here, would you like to say hi and introduce yourself?
Definitely. Hello to everybody. I'm Ronald. I'm a sound engineer and a voice actor. Most of you may know me as the Overwatch voice in several Half-Life 2 modifications and roleplay servers, as the announcer in Deathmatch Classic Refragged and Classic Fortress, and the Combine Assassins in MMOT Tactical.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Just want to introduce ourselves, just to give you guys a little bit of an introduction to who we are. Thank you again for watching the VŌC Podcast, and thank you to Gary Schwartz for being a part of the second episode of the VŌC Podcast. And yeah, we're having a lot of fun on the VŌC Podcast thus far, considering this is our second episode. And yeah, apologies for the technical difficulties that we experienced. Gonna make sure that doesn't happen again. But yeah, Ronald, is there anything that you'd like to mention before we head out?
Yes. Not even the viewers are prepared for the next episode of the VŌC Podcast, which is a red letter interview. Now, prepare yourselves for everything that the heavy and monoculous are about to say.
Yes. Let's see what they have to say. All right, everyone. Have a good one.
If you want to see more, subscribe and hit like. And most importantly, eat sandwich.
Or drink your scrumpy.
Happy Halloween!